An investigation is underway this morning into another U.S. shooting, this time outside the CDC headquarters in Atlanta. Welcome back to Fox News Live, hour number 2. I'm Brian Yennis here in New York. And we begin in Atlanta with that latest on the shooting that took the life of one police officer, a veteran. Madison Scarpino has the details this hour. Madison.
Brian, the GBI is now identifying the suspected shooter as 30-year-old Patrick Joseph White. He lived in Kennesaw, Georgia, about 30 miles away from where we are here in Atlanta. He, too, has died, but it's unclear if it was self-inflicted or from police fire. That's all still under investigation. But right now, the community is mourning the loss of DeKalb County police officer David Rose. He was just 33 years old. He was a Marine Corps veteran, a husband, and a father of 2 children and 1 child on the way.
He was committed to serving the community. At this time, we're asking for the community's prayers for his family, his friends, his loved ones, and the entire DeKalb County Police Department family.
The Atlanta police chief says officers found Rose critically hurt at the shooting scene yesterday evening, not long after the first 911 call regarding an active shooter. Rose was rushed to the nearby Emory Hospital, where he later died. When officers found Rose, they heard gunshots coming from inside a nearby CVS. They found the shooter then dead on the 2nd floor of the store. Now, the Atlanta police chief says while nobody else was shot or hurt, the shooter fired at several windows of the CDC building, and there were also up to 92 children on that campus at the daycare center. The shooting prompted lockdowns there, at Emory University, and several nearby schools.
This is not something that you ever want to have to go through. You can't really understand it until you're a parent and it's your kid. It's one thing to see it on TV or in a movie, but it's not a lot of fun.
So the GBI has now taken over this investigation, and there are rumors circulating online and in certain reports regarding a potential motive behind the shooting. But right now, both the mayor of Atlanta and the Atlanta police chief say that they cannot confirm any of that. Brian. Okay, Madison Scarpino live in Atlanta. Madison, thank you. And for more now on the questions Georgia officials are asking this morning, Fox News contributor and former D.C. homicide detective Ted Williams. Ted, thanks again for being here. Another day, another shooting. What sticks out to you about this case, and perhaps the number one question you think investigators are looking into right now?
Hi, Brian. Let me first, if I can, offer my condolences to the family of Derrick Rhodes. Rhodes was a DeKalb County police officer who ran toward the danger, and as a result of running toward that danger, he lost his life. What questions I have primarily is why? Why did this person go into the Emory University area right at the CDC there, shoot up the CDC, go into the CVS drugstore, and was found dead on the 2nd floor there? So there are more questions right now than answers, but the primary question is, why did he do this?
Yeah, absolutely. Ted, I want to also move on to here. This is about our nation's capital, where President Trump is cracking down on crime there. Federal law enforcement has been given an order to increase the presence around that city starting this weekend. The president also announcing this morning that the White House will address this issue at a news conference on Monday. So what do you expect to hear from that news conference, and what do you make of the federal government here, the White House, taking a keen interest in involving themselves to this degree in D.C.?
You know, it is somewhat of a mystery because to some degree, crime is down in the District of Columbia with the exceptions of carjackings. But the police department, the Metropolitan Police Department, certainly welcome having at least 120 federal agents on the street. But I want to mention a name, Hostel Cheadle. I stand to be corrected, it's Honesty Cheadle. She was a 3-year-old child that was killed in the District of Columbia last month, an innocent victim of the violence there. So whatever help the president can give to the city, I'm sure that it is welcomed by the city and the citizens.
And generally, Ted, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it sets a precedent for other cities?
Well, I think it is a good idea if it's more than just a Band-Aid. Quite naturally, I've talked to many people in the city, and they're somewhat suspicious of Trump because they believe that he wants to have a federal takeover of the District of Columbia, and they are certainly opposed to that.
Okay, so we'll see what happens there, no doubt. I want to now move on to Cincinnati, Ted. This is where all 6 suspects in that brutal viral beatdown were indicted on Friday. Now, they face 8 charges each and up to nearly 30 years in prison. Do you see convictions in their future, and your reaction to some of these folks being let out of jail already?
You know, Brian, I don't know why they were let out of jail. This was a mob. And these are 6 individuals that were attacked by this mob could very well have been killed. I would hope that the large hammer of the law will come down hard on these various individuals who committed these heinous acts. And the videos, those videos will be used as evidence. Everyone has seen perhaps these videos of where these people are being beaten mercifully.
Yeah, you know, there were about 100 people there, they said, and only one person called 911. I'm wondering, depending on how hard they push on convictions here, whether or not those who are bystanders and choose to do nothing should also face some consequence in the future in our legal system, or if that's even possible.
Well, I can tell you as a lawyer, those who were actually bystanders and looking on will probably not face any kind of law because they didn't violate any law and they did not have an actual duty to do anything.
Right.
But those who participated clearly are going to be held accountable.
Yeah, maybe as outraged as so many of us are that nobody did anything, ultimately, there is no law for that, as we've just highlighted again. Ted, thanks. Now, finally to Georgia. We're learning more about the suspected shooter at Fort Stewart. The 28-year-old Sergeant Cornelius Radford is accused of opening fire at the Army base. 5 soldiers were injured. Those who know him are reporting he was bullied over a speech impediment. What do you think we'll learn about a motive and potential charges here?
Well, first of all, let me say we are so thankful as a nation that those 5 soldiers that were shot were not killed. What we want to know more about Radford is not only what his motive was, how did he bring the gun onto that base, what and why and who was his target? Were all 4 of these individuals his target? Those are some of the things that we want to know about Radford. But we need to say thank God that 5 soldiers who were shot are going to survive, it appears, their injuries.
Yeah, that is, thank God for that. You know, Ted, thank you so much for your time. I was just realizing here, your expertise is definitely going to come into play here on Monday because there's a lot of questions there about D.C. You've had so much experience in D.C., and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of you in this upcoming week. Ted Williams, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.